Hello again. So, next up, we have a session that promises to bring some fun to the table. What makes a comedy podcast a chart topper? So, the next 40 minutes will be about laughing all the way to number one. Please welcome Remy Horgar. Thank you.
Welcome everyone. My name is Remy Horgar. I usually work at NRK in Norway, the public broadcaster there, where I'm head of podcast in my region of Norway, which is the mid-region of Norway. You will soon meet Taro, who works in another region, so we don't work together, but we know of each other, of course. This year, in the program group of the Radio Days Europe, we say that we are designing the future of audio. And what I hear from all the people making the new audio apps is that comedy is very important. Often comedy shows are the one thing that draws most new listeners into the new apps. But what makes a successful comedy podcast? Is it two friends talking about everyday lives? Maybe so, but it's a hard format to copy, I think. But today we will see two very different comedy formats and learn about their success. We have with us Taralina Shahin from NRK and the show Desken Brenner. And we have Clara Mai Kunstmann from Radio from Denmark. First, we will hear from Taralina, you will tell us a little about Desken Brenner.
Yes.
How would you pronounce Desken Brenner to English?
I was actually discussing it with my friends, and I think it's directly translated to the news desk is on fire.
The news desk is on fire.
Or the desk is burning. I think that's the poorer translation. Yeah.
Thank you. You can stand up and we will have the clicker.
Okay. So, hello, my name is Taralina, as Remy said. I'm from NRK, and I'm one of the 4 podcast hosts in the new satire program called Desken Brenner. The news desk is on fire. And I'm also having the podcast with Odd Magnus Williamson, the blonde guy. He's a really famous Norwegian comedian and a movie star. And Marius Torkelsen, who is also actually one of the scriptwriters in Desken Brenner, but I will talk a little bit more about that later. And Amalie Stuve, who is a young rising comedian star, but she's actually pretty big right now. Oops, I will go back. So first off, what is Desken Brenner? So Desken Brenner is a news satire podcast. And the way Desken Brenner came to was that NRK top management wanted something. They wanted a podcast version of an already well-established TV concept called Nytt på Nytt. That is actually the Norwegian version of How I Got News for You, the British program. And that's kind of a very hairy goal, I don't know what to say, because how can you make something that's already very popular to a podcast, and how will it be welcomed by the Norwegian? Actually, for more than 1 year, they tried and failed and tried to find like persons to be in the podcast together. And I think I came in after actually a year with the trying and failing. And we actually had another guy that was going to be Odd Magnus Williamson, but something happened. So like 2 weeks before we were going to do our pilot, Odd Magnus came in, and I think that was a very clever move. And in only 1 year, we have won 2 of the biggest comedy prizes in Norway, one for the radio, and like the Norwegian Comedy Prize Award. So I think it turned out great. And Desken Brenner is described as anything can happen and no one is safe when 4 comedians recap the week. And what we do is recapping the week. We have domestic news and international news, so we can talk about everything about from Trump and the Gaza conflict to old grandpa from a small town in Norway that was calling the Norwegian airport asking if he could bring his own made baggage through the security. So I think those news are the funnest. But before I speak a little about how we work, I thought I could show you a video. And I asked the text office in NRK to text the video, but I don't think it does it any justice. So you will probably not understand anything, but this is just a little bit to understand the tone of voice.
Mitt navn Karoline, og sammen med meg I denne abortnemnda har jeg komikerne Marius Torkelsen,
Hei.
Amalie Stue,
Hei.
Odd Magnus Wilhelmsen.
Ja, det var du.
Oi. Liten frosk som
Brakte
vil ut.
deg spontanabort, så det...
Svelga I dag til. Hei og hjertelig velkommen til Deskjenterne! Vi må jo snakke om en ting, og det jo at det en epidemi I Norge med unge gutter som produserer musikk, hvor de glorifiserer kokain og hasj. Hør på det lille utdraget fra låta til Fjellrev og Rock Maniac.
Som voksen å si at nå synes jeg det har gått alt for langt. Jeg vil ha. Kan jeg få, heter det. Kan jeg få 3 gram Monovitches?
Alle gutta mine bare wow, lamparty. Alle turn på lamparty. Kommer å få med når vi spiller Minecraft. Jeg tror de faktisk må ta det I Fortnite.
Har dere sett disse bildene av oljeplattformer som har gigantiske OL-flammer på toppen av plattformen?
Ja.
Ganske vakkert egentlig, hvis du ser på det på bildet, men det jo fører til enorme utslipp som ødelegger planeten vår.
Det ikke bål.
Det ikke bål, nei, og det ikke koselig, og du får ikke brent noen marshmallows siden, for å si det sånn. Så jævlig nerd.
Jeg har med meg et skiforbud. FIS endelig I nyhetene fordi de har innført noen nye regler for alpinistene.
Prompeforbud?
Nei, det prompepåbud. Jeg veldig spent på hvor langt vi skal komme inn I denne saken før det ble prompevits. Det var 7,5 sekunder.
Sånn betaler jeg borderlånet mitt, da.
De skal ha sånne airbags. I tillegg så skal det være sånne prompeputer I det, så hver gang de faller og treffer, så lages det fiselyder. Har vi ikke et eksempel på hvordan det kunne vært, Petter Næss?
2400 deler bakan har muligheten. Og nå det! Nei! Å nei, å nei, å nei!
Og sånn betaler Petter Wøynes borderlånet ditt.
Hei, frøken kanin! Det travelt på å se min fabrikken I dag, frøken kanin?
Ja, det lov å gjøre. Men se, der kommer insemineringsdoktoren.
Hei, insemineringsdoktoren!
Strømøy, Balsegutt, Martha fikk du riktig slutt. Ayatollah Fatwa, Jetta Banka Tatra, Taiwan, Kina, Russland, Ukraina, Putin, Stalin, Taralina, Sahin. Alle de kjenner, dine beste venner. Vi beste venner. Selv om Marius på dyre pornotenner. Vi beste venner. Alle de kjenner, dine beste venner. Vi beste venner. Selv om Odda har vokst opp blant pinsevenner.
Endelig søndag kommet hjem igjen.
That song went very viral, and we're going to make a new song now in Easter to just summarize the new year so far, and I think that will be a banger. So the way we work, actually, I will say Marius came in he was working on this project from the start as a scriptwriter, and he's also now a member of the podcast. So we have 2 scriptwriters right now. It's Marius and Marco Reinersen, a really talented scriptwriter from Norway. He's also sometimes part of the show if one of us are gone. And each Wednesday we meet and we go through the jokes that Marius and Marco has already written. And we go through the news, of course. And then we decide which one of us who will be the one responsible for the news. And then we also, the day before, because we recorded is Thursday, so then we also on Wednesday make the songs and make the parodies and sketches and whatever. And it's very intense, but I think it's good to be hands-on and not do it early in the week. Sorry, my English is really bad. And then Thursday we meet in the studio, we record, and we send it off Friday morning, 6 o'clock, to be hands-on and so that you still feel fresh, because some of the things we are talking about is already been talked about for a week already, and we always try to find a new way in, or if it's too easy, we won't do it. That's our If it's low-hanging fruit, we won't pick the fruit. And I think that's summarizing what Deskenbrenner is.
Thank you so much, Tara.
Yeah.
And if you have some questions for Tara, please save them. We will be able to ask them after a little while. First, I would like to welcome Clara. Please tell us about your projects at radio.
Yes, I can see I should have chosen a completely different clip to go along. But this is basically the beginning of radio. These 5 people are very famous in Denmark. They are comedians, journalists, actors, basically. And I would like to talk a bit about how we have a very, very loyal crowd. Probably some of you remember that once Apple fans was called loyal beyond reason. And this is factor 100, to be completely honest. So basically it started because there was a very popular radio station in Denmark called Radio 24/7, and it was closed, and it was quite a political scandal. When it was closed, these 2 people, comedians and actors, they decided to make a spoof on the new radio station, because somebody else got the license, and for some reason it was decided that the new radio station should be based 110 kilometers outside of Copenhagen, and nobody understood why. So they closed down the very popular radio because main parts of it was in Copenhagen. So these 2 guys decided to make a satire about how it is to actually start a radio station in the outskirts of Denmark. To do that, they needed to invent not only fictional characters, but also a city. This city doesn't exist, but after almost 5 years, it exists in many Danish people's heads, because they're following all the people that are living in this city, and of course the radio station as well. So what happened was, during Corona, the 2 actors, everything got closed down. They were getting bored. They started the podcast. They just sent it out, basically. And what happened was that this troll army from the old radio station, they discovered the new podcast, which means that every time the new radio station posted anything, a troll army from Radio 24/7 went in and smashed everything basically on SoMe, and they started following radio instead. It peaked quite quickly. So within 12 months, Undskyld vi roder, or Sorry we are making a mess, also a bad translation, but it became the largest comedy podcast in Denmark within 12 months. This actually leads to that this is very different famous people. There is someone from Aqua, there's news anchors, there's musicians, and they simply started to contact us if they could be a part of the podcast show. So they started to be a part of the podcast show either by giving a fictional character or by just playing themselves. And how that affected it was that people were starting to get a bit confused, because it was fictional characters, but real people was participating. And it is like that if you're actually doing a podcast show about making a radio station. At some point you get to the point where you actually also means to do some shows, because you can't have a story about a radio station that only has one program. So we started doing different dummies, and within a few months, people started asking if some of these dummies could have their own shows, and from there it developed. Today we have around 60 shows that is part of radio. It's still a mess when it's fictional and when it's reality. To be completely honest, I'm sometimes confused as well. But these followers are basically from a different world. As you can see here, they are making phone covers with one of our main characters. And what we focus on is that they also create content. So our complete wiki page, that is made by fans. We haven't done anything. And they just simply try and work it out. And sometimes, because it's been such a long story, sometimes the actors actually forget something they've said 3 years ago. Then the fans come in and correct them, and in the next week's show, they try to unfold the story about something. So we really want our listeners to participate in doing the content as well, and they do. But one of the things that is very important we found out was that we also need to do events where they actually can participate. And last summer, as a part of the story, 2 of the main characters in our series were getting married. So we were like, okay, we can do a podcast show about it, or we can simply just do a wedding. So I've completely used 40 days of planning this wedding for 200 people, and I have never been so tired in my whole life. But 200 people that contain characters, some of the famous people as well, and not the least, we call them our friends' friends. 150 of those were participating in the wedding, and they all got characters as well. And then, of course, we recorded all day, and it was part of the show in the following days. They all brought presents. We had an office full of presents for these fictional characters, and they were all very thought through, and small notes and books and stuff like that. I usually say we send every morning or every Friday morning at 6 o'clock, and I usually say the first thing I do Friday morning is that I press play, because I need to figure out what mess they made this week. And it's not because that I don't know completely, I know the storyline, but because they're improv actors, a lot of stuff just comes up that they don't know about before it comes. So I woke up one Friday morning, and it was in the end of December. I pressed play, and then I suddenly heard that they were inviting people to a football match. And I was like, a tournament that we were arranging, and I was like, no, I am arranging it. I know what's going to happen now. So what we did was that we invited all these people to participate. And the fun part was that we could have held it for 3 days. There were way too many people that wanted to participate. And of course, we participated as well with the characters. That didn't went that good, I can tell you that. So we need to practice before the next tournament, because of course it comes again. So this is just an example of that we actually focus a lot about interacting with our listeners and ask them to participate in the show and in the story and to develop what is happening. I have a small clip as well. We had a problem with our old app. Probably you all know that it's quite expensive to do an app, and we are still a small startup. I just hired 2 more people, and now we're 6. Yay! And of course a lot of freelancers. But how do you actually develop a new app and try to tell them that we have a groundbreaking new app, this app works? That was basically the story. A few new features, but what we always do, every time we do something, even though it's small, we always make it much bigger, and it's always huge for us, and it's a huge success. And this is just a small clip of how we presented the app, and maybe some of you can recognize what we're trying to do.
Jeg har jo som sagt glædet mig utrolig længe til den her dag. Så lad os lige ridse op. Hvad er det, I har fået her i dag? I har fået mig. I har fået Claus Bundgaard. I har fået en banebrydende ny app. Og I har fået et helt unikt interface. Helt unikt. Bundgaard app interface. Are you getting it? Are you getting it? Det er ikke 3 ting. Det er 1 ting. Det er 1 ting. Bundgaard AI. Bundgaard AI.
Yes, thanks to Steve Jobs for the inspiration. And we are actually just very close to releasing a Bundgaard AI into the app where you can ask our CEO questions. And that has been really fun trying to do that. I'm very afraid what it will mean because when we stress test it, it's quite expensive in cloud. And when you have followers like we do, it can be really, really crazy. But just a bit about the numbers. I just checked the numbers before I got here, and in our lifetime we have had 22 million downloads, and it's quite big for a small country like Denmark, where there's 5 million people. That is, of course, including other shows as well. But when we're looking at success, we're not only looking at how many downloads or listeners do we have, we look at reach in general. On Monday, we are launching on a national DAB channel, and we're very excited about that. So we're actually going the Flow way as well. Our SoMe channel has grown almost 100% for the last 2 years. So even though there's a slow decline in the listening to the show, fair enough, it's been going on for 5 years, people are still following it in other universes. We've gotten our own talk show as well. And we have live shows out there too. So it's just to say, reach in general is also worth a lot when you're a small commercial company. So just a few takeaways. So this is also what happened. The fans made Christmas decorations of our characters, and they came to the office and turned it. I don't know what to say, but it was crazy. But I just have to say, don't underestimate the good storyline and strong characters. And don't be afraid to invite all the followers into the storyline and engage them. And then I can just say, communicate something is a huge success. It works. People tend to believe you. Just look at the United States. And I have to say that I'm really surprised how people are following. So I hope you get a bit of inspiration from this.
Thank you so much. And get ready your questions if you have any. We have a microphone there in the back. First, Clara, we have tried similar things in Norway with fake towns having their own TV shows and fake towns having their own podcasts, making a fake radio channel, but it never caught on. Why did it become so popular?
I think it's different factors. I think especially the followers from the old radio station, they were so angry about the closing down. So there was basically a hole in the market to pick some of them up. Of course, it's also about which comedians or actors, you said it yourself, you have to test some out who works. And also, I think the story that we're telling with just a simple life in a small town in Denmark in the outskirts really means a lot. We are not I always say that we dial the comedy like in between 7 to 15% up, but not too much, because people can still relate to what they're seeing or hearing. And I think Corona did a real good thing for us. People were at home, they didn't know what to do. So a lot started to hearing podcasts that hadn't done that before.
Great timing then.
Very good timing.
Tara, why do you think December became such an instant success like from week 1?
It's a good question, and we have been discussing it ourselves. And personally, I think maybe that people are a little bit fed up with the glossy TV shows, and podcasts are still starting to become more popular in Norway. I feel we were way behind on some things podcasts are one of those. But I think also it's about the mix of comedians and relatable news and hearing other people speak, airing what you've been feeling the whole week. I think so, and we're so different, all of us. So you get best of both worlds.
Yeah, Clara, you had like already famous people, and Tara, you're kind of like part of a supergroup put together to make this product. Does it have to be celebrities, do you think?
No, I don't think so, because we are having other shows where it's not. Again, I think the storyline is very important, and social media is very important, because people need to pick up all the small stuff to figure out that if this is something for me.
And we had the same thing, because when we were trying to find our group, we were like 3 persons that did more or less worked in TV or radio. And we were like trying to find that last person, and I thought the NRK management were really pushing on finding this one big celebrity, so because they thought they needed it. And Marius was sitting there the whole time, and he was actually the one working on the project from day one.
Yeah, and he wasn't famous.
He wasn't famous. He's a comedian, but a stand-up comedian in Oslo, based in Oslo. And we asked, like, can't Marius be a part of this, because he already feels that he's owning the project. He knows the stuff well, and he knows what they want. And then we tried it, and it was an instant success. So I also think it's not necessary at all, but it has probably helped us in some ways also.
Do we have any questions from the audience? Yeah, over here.
Thank you. I'm Marcio from Portugal. I have a clarification to Clara and a question a little bit more developed to Tara. Can you clarify, you have several podcasts, and all of them are as if all of those people lived in this community? Or is it, can you clarify that?
We have one podcast, and then we have a few of the characters that has their own podcast. But altogether we have more than 60 shows, and I would say that the balance is more or less like 25% is satire, and the rest is what I would call real radio, where it's not fictional characters.
Okay, thank you. And to Tara, there was a very, very big visual aspect to the podcast based on what was there, and we've been talking mostly with people who are behind the cameras and the shows, and you are ahead of it. Do you feel like you're doing a podcast, or do you feel like you're doing a TV show?
I feel that we make a podcast, but I'm very camera shy in first place, so I don't like the aspect of having to have the camera inside, but it's just a small part. But we had a VJ that was following us each episode. He's out now, but we have another one. And then we decide as a group what bit that should be on the front page of nrk.no or on the social medias. But I think that has also been a very important reason why we have done it so well, because the exposure is unbelievable with those videos and photos and everything. But I feel it's a podcast, but yeah.
Thank you. So we have another question here.
Yes, hello. To Clara. So are the actors also the writers? Do they write together, or do they write their bits separately? And also clarification, you said you release on Friday mornings, but with the 60 shows, so does it mean they're like segments in the show?
No, actually, it's so just the last question first. It's basically you're following the radio station behind the scenes. So they do it during the week. Also, because if something happens in the world, they usually somehow comment on it during the way. So sometimes it can be a 45-minute long meeting where they almost don't cut in it, if it works well. Or it can be 10 different small stories around this culture house in Skuldborg, where where radio is based. And they don't have any manuscripts. They are improv artists, so that basically means that that's also why when I ask them what is happening, they give me like 5 or 6 bullets. Oh, it's a bit about this, and I'm like, have you remembered this? Because we also have sponsors, not that many, because that's we don't want commercials all over, but they use some of our sponsors as the part of the storyline. So, for example, we have a sponsorship with the biggest energy company in Denmark, and they're part of our storyline because they're helping the city to become more climate friendly. And that's not very easy because they just found oil just next to a solar cell park, and the CEO from the company participates in the podcast, and so it's all just a mix-up. And that's why I'm saying Friday morning, my first press is on play.
Okay, but it creates, the series releases content throughout the week.
We gathered for this particular show. It's Friday, 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's all in one show. And then some of the characters have, for example, we have a security guy that is basically a prepper. So he has his own show where he tests everything from tasers to his car and stuff like that. And he's not very good at it, let me just say it like that. So he's so popular, so he has his own show.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Clara, you have tried a lot of formats. And you said some formats didn't work, so you got rid of it. What didn't work?
Yeah, because we all think different things are funny. But we have decided that because we're such a small player still, we need just to do stuff. We need just to try and put it out there, and then we get feedback. Feedback can be everything from downloads and listeners to how they engage in the story. And what we found out is that if a character is really good in the main story, that doesn't mean they're good enough to actually have their own show, but you don't know that before you actually tried it. Where the security guy, he is basically my favorite character because he is really, really difficult to be around. And they were actually, we got them to come as characters to the football tournament. They also arrested people and searched them, and they loved it. So sometimes it doesn't work because you can't maybe carry on a whole format yourself, but you don't know before you hear it.
Thanks. Do we have any other questions from the audience? You're very formatted, Tara. How has that helped you, do you think? Has it been very important for you to have, how structured are you when you're in the daily work?
I'm not structured at all, and I have very bad work ethics. And I'm also part of another big show in Norway called Mal Respect. We were last year, and it's a group of me and four guys, and we just talk, and there's no structure at all. It used to be, but now it's a podcast, so yeah. So when I started to work with the Deskenbrenner, it was really hard for me to adjust to that work ethics. So I know tomorrow I have a lot to update myself on, but I think the structure is what makes it so good, because a lot of it is really scripted, but I think that needs to be a part of it for the free jazzing to be so good. So you know what you will come back to, and that you know that the news you are talking about is well established before you start on the jokes and before you go on different routes. But I'm really not structured at all. I got a pretty angry mail from my boss saying that you need to read the news. You can't just come here and yeah. So I'm working on it, but yeah.
Because all of you in the show, you bring your own. You bring you bring some news. This is my news story, and you make maybe a song or a sketch or a fake phone call or something about it.
Yeah, and that's we decide on the Wednesday meeting, But I'm more like the main radio host, so I'm pretty happy about it because I never need to sing. I never, when I do parodies, it's always some person that's bad in English. That's the butt of the joke. But the other people I work with are really structured, and they can pump out the song in 30 minutes, and it's really cool to watch. And they go to the music studio 6 in the morning and come to work 2 hours later with a viral hit. So yeah. Did I answer the question?
Yes, perfectly. To conclude, if anyone would like to make a successful comedy podcast in their country, what should they do?
That's a big question. I think I will stick to the part where they just keep trying, because you don't know when you're making it. And for example, Radio 24/7, that was very popular. They actually tried different formats for 4 years before they actually hit something that got hugely popular. So you don't really know it, but you need to try it and you need to send it out there as well.
And I think also I'm agreeing, and I think a lot of the bigger production companies needs to trust that something, give it time to grow also, and trying and failing, and if it's not working, it's not worse than removing it. I think we need to do more of that, and of course plan everything, but don't plan it to the from A to I don't know the English alphabet, but trying and failing, I think it's yeah.
Thank you so much. And Clara, you will launch your DAB channel on Monday with the same universe.
Yes.
Good luck with that. Going quite the opposite way, from podcast to radio and not the other way around. It will be exciting.
I got the
to see.
role, actually.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm being a part of the
You're going
new
to join?
characters.
Okay,
Yeah.
looking forward to that. New collaborations taking form. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much, Tara and Clara. And if you haven't checked it out already, I will really recommend to check out one of the Agoras today, where there will be a discussion on the future of radio and how to reach young people, amongst other things. Check that out and have a good conference this day.